Welcome to the Valve Studio. Today is an exciting day. I got out of bed, I came right in here and I started working on my Mectron Record Player mod because I've been getting a lot of stuff and there's a lot of really great things coming up in the Valve Studio. I had to get this done today. So let's go over what this is, just for those of you joining us. This is a record player called a Mectron, and I have been working on it for the last month or so here at the Valve Studio. And I could have just put a 1/4-inch jack on this thing and started using it. But no, I wanted to go through and use this as an example to learn a little bit about, well, actually I learned a lot about tube amplifier design, how to run some of my test equipment, how to actually find some limitations and some enhancements to the circuit. And we're going to go over, we don't need to go over that. You can just watch the old videos, but I'm going to just give you some highlights. This thing here doesn't have a power transformer. So because of that, they had some limitations on what they could choose for their bias point. And that kind of limited their power output. But that's okay. They did okay on that. We went through and we looked at the data sheets for the actual tubes. This thing has a 3-tube design. It has a half-wave rectifier, a 50L6 for a single-ended output tube, and a 12SQ7, which is a high mu triode as the preamp. We learned a lot about those things along the way. We did our DC circuit analysis where we went through and we looked at the circuit itself and the data sheets and found the bias point, and then we went and measured it, and we were very close to what the bias point was actually calculated at. So we went through that, and there's a video on just that. Then I went through and I created a IPython notebook to look at the performance of this amplifier if you ran that pentode in triode mode. And we found that the power output would be about 400 milliwatts at about 5% distortion. Then we went and put the same circuit back in pentode mode, and we found that we could get about 1.4 watts out at about 5% distortion. And I know you're thinking, well, 1.4 watts, what can you do with that? Well, I'll show you that in a little bit, because it's quite it's quite impressive what you get out of this little box here. One of the things that we're able to look at in the IPython notebook was the impact of the speaker impedance. If you just blindly hooked up speakers to an amplifier, what that actually does, because it changes the slope of the load line. And we optimized the design. If we wanted to go through and really work on this, we could have changed the output transformer turns ratio. We could change the speaker impedance. We could, if we put in a power supply transformer, we could kick up the bias point up to really close to the power dissipation limitation on this pentode. We could have done a lot of things on this, but I decided not to. I wanted to keep this. It's just a little project, so I found a lot of limitations. Yes, there's a lot of things we could change, but we're just modding this today. We're not designing an amplifier from scratch. But it's very interesting because you could go and play with this interactive tool. You can download that and play with it yourself. Watch the whole video on that. All right, so where do we stand? Let me just go ahead and show it to you right now. Here it is. I've been working on this for about 4 or 5 hours today. Kind of finished it up. You can see that it's still a record player form, and I kept the case on it, and I went and this is where the turntable, the record player part was. This has been gone for quite some time. I cut this hole out for this speaker here. I mounted this input jack right here, and actually I put an isolation transformer in here. I had one sitting around from that buy of some equipment in Los Alamos. I went ahead and put that in, so this thing is safe. I put a 3-prong outlet, 3-prong cord on here, and did the grounding. This is all cardboard. I mean, it's a plywood design. checked it all out, got it working. I put it all together and I was trying it out, and it had horrendous amount of hum in it. So it turns out that they did a really poor job. This record player, it's got a lot of things that could be done a lot differently. I was looking, and I put this jack in the middle here. I was looking at, I wanted to put it in the center between the two knobs. This is a tone knob, and here's the volume knob and power on off. I wanted to put them in the center. They didn't even get these lined up right. This one's a little lower than this one, so it doesn't matter. And their choice of where to put these knobs is really bad. If they had switched them, they would have had a low impact on the hum, but because they did it this way, you had to run the power lines all the way across the circuit and back again, and it's really bad. But it works out. I just kind of rerouted things, and I twisted some wires together, and I put some shielded wire on the main input lines, and I let that hum down. I didn't get rid of all of it, but it's still there. It's there enough. You know that it's on. I don't have a power indicator light on here. I probably should put that on. But I'm ready to move on. Let's just go ahead and show you what this thing does. Let me see here. In order to reduce the hum, one thing I did do is I added a little extra capacitance on the output from the rectifier. And I was over at AJ's the other day, and I was talking to his dad. I was picking up a cabinet. AJ's let me use a Fender 212 cabinet. And I picked it up, and he said, "Hey, I got something for you." And I'm like, "All right, what do you got?" He brought this. He brought this out. This is the guts out of a wall wart, And he said, "This thing doesn't work. Do you want it?" And I'm like, well, I guess. I look at this kind of junk. This is like, it's just a bunch of junk. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So, it's probably a $3 part. What do I need off of it? I took it to be polite, but it turns out I actually used a part off of this for this thing here. These switching power supplies, they have a very high voltage capacitor right across the line. Because this is international, meaning it'll do 220 as well as 120 or 240. It has a very high voltage cap in here, and this particular one had a 47 microfarad at 400 volts. It was perfect. I just took it out and I stuck it in here. The rest of this, I don't really know. It's got a rectifier. I'll keep it around. Maybe I'll use it for something else. Okay, on to this. This thing here, this wasn't the original speaker that I decided to use. I think I got this at MCM Electronics. It was a special. And I don't know what I was thinking. It was probably a late night buy, impulse thing. It's like $10. I don't know. Initially, I got this speaker, I don't know, probably a year ago. And I just left it in the box. I never got around to working on this mod. But I got this guy. This is a 12-inch guy. Is it 12? It's 10 inches. So I pull it out and I look at the size of the magnet on the back, and I'm like, oh crap, I can't use this. This thing is a 150 watt speaker. My little amplifier here is like 1 watt. This will work, but it's not going to be very efficient. So, all right, well, I'll have to save this for another project. All right. I'm telling you this for a really good reason. So I went and I was looking around. I was thinking, what do people put in these, like when they do, Fender Champ mods or that kind of thing, something around 15 watts. What speaker do they put in for that? And I guess it comes down to 2 speakers. And I listened to a couple of shootouts on YouTube about some of these speakers down at the 15 watt range. And I ended up getting this one here. This is a Celestron 815. This one got really good reviews, and I listened to it, and I didn't really care. So I wouldn't price this, and I found this $29. And normally I just, price it at Amazon, and it's okay. But an ad came up in Google, and it was for Sweetwater. So I figured, you know, they had free shipping, so let's go ahead and try it. You know, I never ordered anything for Sweetwater. This thing came in really fast, like immediately. I ordered it on a Saturday. I think I had it here on a Tuesday. No, it was a Wednesday. It was really fast, and I didn't do any expedited shipping or anything. And I immediately get an email thanking me. I send the email. I order this thing on Saturday night around 2 in the morning. I get an email Monday morning thanking me for being a new customer. And the reply wasn't from a no reply email address. It was from somebody at Sweetwater. So I replied back to them saying, well, thanks for writing. And I started up this conversation with a guy over there at Sweetwater his name is Alex. I bought a $30 speaker. The amount of customer support I got from Alex for being a new customer was it's like phenomenal. It's like the old days when companies actually had customer service. I was really taken aback by that, and so I kind of made it a directive here at the Valve Studio that if I can order it from Sweetwater, I'm going to go ahead and do that. There's a lot of people over there. They're working hard. They're providing a really good company to buy things from. And my impression is very positive from my first little buy here. So hats off. Well, I don't have my hat on. Hats off to Alex at Sweetwater and everyone else over there. My Mectron mod is a big success because of this little Cistern speaker. Okay. So I guess when it was a record player, your albums would fit in here. And let me see if that's true or not. I think that's the case. It sure seems like they're supposed to fit. Yeah, look at that. So there's a slot in the back for albums, but now it's just for the power cord. The power cord comes out this little slot here. And before that, let me show you a little video that I shot earlier of what it looked like when I put it together. I'm going to go get my guitar, watch this video, I'll be right back. Here's the Mectron record player before I put it together. Over here, this is where the record player mechanics used to be. I put that speaker in right here. Here's all the mods. I recapped everything. Here's that 47 microfarad 400 volt capacitor. I sistered it on. Some shielded cable on the input jacks. You can see the power lines are twisted together. There's the isolation transformer over there. I think it's ready to be put back together. So I got my Gibson here. Bought this at a pawn shop in 1981. It's an old standby. Hey, it actually matches the record player to color. All right, so we're going to plug this in and turn it on. And I'm going to set this thing at about half volume on everything here. We'll see if it's going to work here. It does sound pretty good. Yeah, let's be quiet for a minute and see if you can hear the hum. It's actually not too bad. It kind of, my computer's fans are doing worse than that in here, so we're looking pretty good for that. It's very nice. It's like really nice. So let's turn up the guitar. Okay, so that's I just got the guitar turned all the way up, and the amplifier is still down at about a third of the way up on the volume. so let's go back to kind of mid-volume here. I'm on both pickups, by the way. And we'll turn this all the way up. I was playing this before, and it's got a resonance in it, so I had to take it apart again. I couldn't find it, and then I found it. Let me go ahead and show you what I found. Everything's turned to 10. This is great for like 1.4 watts. This is the Valve Studio. Thanks for watching.